Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Capricorn is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Capricorn, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we start with the World card, or the Universe card, as your as your station. This is your subjective experience of your life. Okay, and the first impression is that you might be feeling a little bit lost, right? This is kind of a card of being lost in space, you know. A great television show, a lot of fun, not a lot of fun in real life though. Kind of feels like we are drifting, that we're kind of a cork on the cosmic ocean, you know. But this card might be implying a lot of trust in the universe, that we feel like you're sort of being carried by the universe, you know, that we are on an orbit that in our sort of ego consciousness and our human mind, we can't see the full span of our lives. And so you're kind of realizing that it may feel like you're lost. It may feel like you don't know which way you're going. You don't know which way is up, right? When you're in the vacuum of space, there's no up or down, you know? But at the same time, believing, trusting, having faith in the universe that we're being carried somewhere. Where, I don't know, but you know that there's a plan to it all, that there's a structure, okay? But this is very often that card of a universe that's getting larger and larger, and it's not getting easier, it's not getting simpler, it's getting more complex, okay? You might be feeling as if something in your life is being delayed, that we feel like we're arriving somewhere, or that the universe is carrying you somewhere, but hurry up already. You know, let's put this card into a little bit of context. Okay, let's see what is going on for you. We got that 8 of Cups. It makes sense. We have a 3 of Pentacles. We've got a Hierophant, a 7 of Wands, and, a Magician. Okay, interesting. Over here we have a Prince of Cups, a Prince of Swords, a 5 of Pentacles, and a 7 of Cups. Okay, let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it right over here with our little sea turtle friend right on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end. It will tie everything together. It will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading, okay? If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card might be, put your prediction in the comment section below the video. Now, as we look around the room, what do you see here on the horizontal pathway? We see wisdom, right? You see 3 major arcana energies. So to me, it feels like Spirit is pushing you forward. Spirit is pushing you into your power, your best self, pushing you toward being a magician. Okay? Everything in your past has been a teacher. Okay? You're going from the teacher to becoming the master. Okay? And I think the universe is bringing you to this point. All 3 major arcana energies moving forward. Yeah. Spirit is guiding you forward. Okay. Then we've got, of course, fire. We've got water, a little bit of air, and we have our earth cards. Okay. So the first water card we have is the Eight of Cups. This is usually to me like a kind of a hopeless feeling. Feels like our vessel, we're out here floating around in space. Our vessel is getting a little dinged up by the space junk, by debris, by little micro asteroids kind of denting our ship. So this is a vessel that is kind of getting a little battle worn. Yeah. I think that it's kind of, you may be feeling tired of fighting. Yeah, you've been out in space, sometimes feeling lost in space, and the Eight of Cups is saying, no hope of ever finding, anything. No hope of ever arriving anywhere of any consequence. The distances in space are literally astronomical, right? You could travel for your entire life and never come in contact with any particular object, yeah? Anything of any consequence, anything of note. So it begins to feel kind of hopeless as you're floating out in space. It's almost like we've just stopped struggling. There's part of you anyway that kind of just wants to give up the fight. And wants to just, forget it. And there's no point to it, right? Because in space, there's no air. It's a vacuum, right? So as much as you might be swimming, and struggling and burning a lot of your energy, there's no friction. There's nothing to grab onto. There's no water there to swim against. There's no air to really support to give you the lift and to allow you to navigate. So sometimes the Eight of Cups is just almost like a surrender. Just kind of like just giving up. Okay. I don't feel like you're doing that. I feel like this is the obstacle, the Eight of Cups. This second position card is the quest for you. The quest is for you to keep going even though you don't feel like you can, even though you don't want to, even though that part of you is saying it's hopeless to even try. Well, what are you doing up here with your Seven of Wands? You're trying. This is you continuing to bang your head against the wall. And I think Spirit is saying that, as much as you're tired of fighting, you know that you have to struggle against this feeling. There is, in any sort of endeavor that feels like it's taking a long time to really manifest, to really reach its conclusion, or for us to get to our destination, there's always going to be this little feeling there somewhere that wants to just wants to give up, just wants to say, forget it. There's no point to it. There's no hope here, right? And so Spirit's telling you not to abandon your hope. The Seven of Wands is saying that you care about this enough that you're going to fight for it. Okay. It's a card that keeps fighting. This may be a David and Goliath kind of situation. You're being guided by a hidden force here, but you have to sort of, continue. I keep picturing some generic sci-fi movie where somebody is just lost in space and they just give up. They just say, forget it. Right? And right when they're just about ready to sort of close their eyes and never open them again, what they need appears. Yeah. And so this is that energy that's saying, no matter what, you're not giving up on things. Okay, things are not hopeless as long as you have a little bit of breath in your body. There's still a chance, Because it feels like the odds are, well, again, kind of astronomical. Not to wear out the metaphor, but this is a Venus energy, right? The Seven. It's saying that you desire this, whatever you're doing, right? Whatever your life is all about, that you do want it so bad that it's as long as your heart's beating, there's still work to be done. There's still effort. There's still hope. There's still, there's still something that you can do, right? Sometimes with the Universe card, it is really about that divine surrender. Kind of it feels like you're cast adrift, that you've released control to the divine flow, you know. And it's not always easy, and sometimes we do that because we don't know what else to do. Okay, there's not a lot of air energy here, right? So I kind of feel like, in a way, you run out of ideas. So you're just gonna do the best you can and hope and pray for the best. Yeah. Down beneath the surface, you have the Three of Pentacles. This is a card of work. This is the card of understanding the process of change on the physical plane. I think that you've reached the edge of the known universe. Yeah. And what else is out here now is uncharted territory. It's kind of like you've sailed off the edge of the map, you know, because there's a limit to our understanding of how things work, of how to get something done. And it's almost as if, well, if we look at the Hierophant too, it kind of seems like, the Hierophant was all of the lessons that you've learned, all of the training, all of the skills, all the practice, all the instruction, all the wisdom that you've absorbed that have led to you understanding the process of change, whatever the change is. This is you understanding the process of change. This is, of course, you involved in that activity of change. But with these two here, it's kind of like there's a finite amount of instruction that you can receive. It's kind of like the Hierophant has kicked you out of the nest. You know, Mama Bird over here kicked you out of the nest and now is saying you got to learn to fly. You've got to trust in the sort of, the air beneath your wings, even though you're in the vacuum of space. But you understand what I mean. In order for you to sort of, to perform your magic. And so like a baby bird being pushed out of the nest, it's like you're not going to learn to fly unless you get out there into the world and kind of, sink or swim. A lot of different metaphors. We have space, we have water, we have air. But this, this is the limit to your understanding of how to make something work. And it may be that this is the internal understanding. It's maybe Spirit's way of saying that you have the information. What you need is the practical experience, okay? What you need is to be out here floating around in space and figuring it out in a very practical way. Because you got the book. I mean, you graduated the college course or whatever. You got the certification, whatever it is. I don't know if this is, maybe it is literally a work thing or a vocation or a career. Or a new skill or some kind of a textbook thing. It's like you know the information, you have the wisdom. But in order for you to become the master, you're going to have to transcend this wisdom. You have to leave it in the past and you have to go out into the real world. This is you studying to be the EMT. This is you out there in the world doing the EMT work before you really fully can take ownership of like, now I am the EMT, I was an EMT for a brief period of time. And I really enjoyed the learning process. I think you're somebody that does enjoy the learning process of things. You're very good at the assimilation of data, wisdom. Yeah. This is the teacher. And it's kind of like you're leaving the teacher behind because Spirit's saying you can't call the teacher and say, hey, what do I do? And you can Google it, you can look in the textbook and you can search your own understanding and your own inner knowing, but you're never going to really become the full version of that person. Let's say it is an EMT, right? You're never going to become that full EMT until you're out there in the world doing the thing. So it may be that this is literally a college course or a university or a certification program or some kind of a trade school or a technical school or something like that you have graduated from. And now it kind of feels like you're lost in space trying to figure things out. You are being divinely guided though, okay? And I think that everything you're going through, everything you're feeling is necessary because it's creating in you such this magician energy. It's kind of teaching you is real world experience now. It's teaching you not just the information, but the practical application of that information. Okay. You're not a full EMT until you're out there doing it. And maybe you do it for a year, maybe you don't feel like you're a full full version of that until you do it for 5 years or 10 years or whatever it really is. And that could be our Eight of Cups too. This feeling like, you've assimilated the data and you're out here in the world doing the thing, but it doesn't feel like it's clicked yet. It doesn't feel like it's that you embody it yet. Okay? It's kind of saying, well, you understand how to do it. Why is it so hard to do still? And then we start to feel like a fraud, or we start to feel like we're kind of emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe this is the feeling like you're about to skid out, like we're just kind of almost feel like we're losing control, especially in the vacuum of space where there is no control. Unless you have some sort of thrusters, right? There's nothing to grab onto. There's nothing to swim against. There's no water or air there, I believe that you're trying to kind of summon your inner discipline. Yeah. In order to continue doing the hard work and knowing that one day it's all going to come together. It's all going to click for you. And you're going to feel like you're the magician. You're going to feel like you're the one who is able to apply your science, right? That's all. That's what this is the card of science and the real world application, right? It's the applied sciences, yeah. And it's how we're able to transmit that wisdom and that data to the real world. With the magician energy, the wisdom comes in, or the divine light, or the magic, or whatever it is, spiritual energy comes in. And then what? We just hold on to it. This is somebody that is learning but not doing, yeah. What we do is we figure out what our own internal blockages are. What are we scared of? What are our buttons, our triggers, our knots of karma? Okay. And Spirit's asking, where do you mistake stubbornness for true strength? There's something you're resisting. There is an energetic blockage that's preventing this wisdom, knowledge, spiritual energy, divine light, whatever it is, from being transmitted from you, through you. It's come in through the Hierophant energy. You've been taught what to do and how to do it. There's something preventing you from just doing it in a smooth and harmonious way. Because the magician is the clear channel, where there's no blockages that are interrupting the signal of light. Whatever that light is, whatever information is contained within that light frequency, there's something in you that's blocking it, that's preventing it from flowing outward and being, in that harmonious kind of flow state for you. Okay. And, maybe it's a fear of change. Maybe it's a fear of failure. Maybe it is just the first time that we've stepped away from that Hierophant or that teacher, or that the comfort of kind of somebody's here that knows more than me, And maybe it's the first day that you're out on your own, or that you're the one in charge on that emergency, medical, ambulance thing. Maybe you're the one in charge of that. Maybe you're the one that's like, it's all up to you, right? Rather than the comfort and the safety of knowing that, okay, if I don't know what to do, I have somebody with more experience here next to me. And they're, when you're first EMT, you're going to ride with somebody who's been there for a while, You're going to ride with somebody that kind of knows what they're doing. And there's a safety and there's a comfort in that. Okay, whatever situation we get into, I know that it's not all on me, that if I don't know what to do, if I freak out, somebody's there to kind of, to step in or to advise and that sort of thing. This might be the first time that you really are like, it's all you now. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the path of the serpent. As we do, I'd like to ask for your subscription. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Your general energy is a very authentic Prince of Cups. This is somebody who is trying to, in a way, surrounded by all this emotional energy, surrounded by all this water, kind of freaking out on the outside, but inside I'm trying to remember the training, This is somebody like, it's in any kind of a real world situation where you have to act, right? You have to fall back on your training, and it's like let all that training just kind of, show you what to do. You don't want to interfere with it mentally. You kind of just want to let it come out from you, right? So this is you in a heightened emotional state, trying to find that knowledge or wisdom inside and let it come out and kind of, tell you what to do. It was very difficult when we're surrounded by all this water to be able to tap into that certainty. When we're in a heightened emotional state, you have a hard time remembering even simple things. That's why people, like after an accident or after some kind of like really high energy situation, after like a tower moment, right? People aren't very reliable in their witness statements or in their, the people can't even remember their own names sometimes. That's why, you see it on, like, I watch those like court TV things, and there's a lot of those good channels on YouTube, like true crime stuff and all this, legal stuff. That's why some people they'll change their story every 5 minutes because they're in such a high anxiety state that they have trouble accessing the information. It's not that they're lying. It's difficult to be authentic, and it's difficult to be truthful. It's difficult to find exactly the piece of information that we need when we're in that heightened emotional state. So when you're in the Eight of Cups kind of state, which is in this kind of a calm hopelessness, maybe in a way it's easier for you to access that information because it's almost like we're not agitated. We've just kind of said, nah, I give up, I surrender, So I think that's a good thing. I think this is working for you rather than against you. What we don't want to get is agitated and anxious and nervous and all that kind of stuff, because then it might be more difficult for you to access the information that you need and apply it in a way that is, that's going to be helpful to you. There is some kind of a roadblock with that Seven of Wands. There is some kind of resistance, and it could be that your perception of your life is that what you're trying to do now is being blocked on the outside. Okay, that is not necessarily there's a blockage coming from inside, but that as you try to apply your wisdom to the real world, there's something that's preventing the harmony there. It's like the things that you're trying to do, it's like, I know what to do, but every time I try to do it, something doesn't work. And you're trying to figure out why that is. Okay? Because this is really a very authentic type of card. I feel like you're somebody who can navigate those emotional waters and access the information that you need. So it kind of feel like the real blockage that's taking place isn't necessarily about you. I think that you're feeling blocked, but I don't know that it's an internal blockage, especially as the Three of Pentacles is inside and the Seven of Wands is above the surface. So this is your inner knowing, and it's kind of even referencing our Prince of Cups here. This is you understanding the process internally, but maybe because of the anxiety or the blockage or the challenging situation that you're in, you're having trouble accessing the information. Okay? Or that when you do and then you try to apply it to the world, something doesn't work. Okay? So these two cards could really be referring to what we were talking about with our Prince of Cups. Okay? Because I feel like you know the information. You know what the truth is inside of you. And I think that maybe if we go more with the water energy than the fire, if we go with this cool, calm type of emotional energy, and we don't let the external situation agitate us too much, we try to stay almost indifferent. It's that cool, calculated kind of thing. You think of a doctor. And, a doctor's dealing with a lot of medical emergencies, and families are just distraught, right? But the doctors are all just kind of calm, matter of fact, very chill, almost icy to the touch, They need to be. They've been trained to be that way. Not because they don't care, but they know that in a heightened emotional state, they won't make good decisions. They won't be able to access the information that they need. So doctors very much remain indifferent. And that's why a lot of people think, oh gosh, doctors are just cold and uncaring, robotic people. No, they're not, though. I mean, some of them probably are, sure. But an effective person, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're in the medical field. Whatever you're doing in life right now, I think your Eight of Cups is probably the right way to go. Rather than being agitated and frustrated in this heightened, sympathetic nervous system activated state, fight or flight or freeze kind of mode, you're in just kind of like, I don't care kind of mode, right? And that's allowing you to access the information that you need and apply it and allow it to flow through you and do what you need to do, get the job done. So we have a fixed water and a fixed air energy. Okay. You are supported in your life in unexpected ways. Okay. The Prince of Swords, it may be, there may be an Aquarius person in your life. I'm kind of feeling an Aquarius connection with you. But this is a card of a fixed knowledge. And this may be, maybe part of the obstacle for you. Because sometimes this is a mind that needs to be more flexible. Are you relying too much on the textbook? Yeah. Are you allowing your mind to sort of be more creative, to think in more creative ways? Maybe you're able to recall the information perfectly, but maybe you're thinking, the information I'm recalling perfectly doesn't exactly fit into this situation. It's like whatever situation you're in is a little bit different than the scenario in the textbook. Therefore, the procedure of the textbook isn't going to fit in the real world scenario perfectly. And so what you have to do is you have to be able to expand and grow and think outside the box a little bit. You don't want to break with the textbook and say, I'm just going to do things my way. No, you go by the book, but you allow yourself to be a little bit creative and to think for yourself. To be flexible, knowing that the textbook gives you a very generic situation. Very generic situation and a generic process. That is kind of like sort of going to fit into everything, but not exactly. You have to add that little bit extra in order to make it fit. You see? And so with both of these, it seems like I think with the fixed water, we're good. But with the fixed air, we need to be a little bit more open, a little bit more flexible. You can't try to cram your textbook meaning into every situation because it's not going to fit. Okay. Now, I feel that you're kind of like, you judge yourself harshly. I think really you sometimes judge yourself for feeling like tired or feeling like overwhelmed. Okay? I think that it's par for the course right now. You're allowed to feel tired, sad, and overwhelmed. And I think you need to forgive that and let that go. I feel like you're carrying a lot of emotional residue here. You are an empath. You are an empath. I don't know if you're doing something like, if you're working in that field professionally or not, but you very much are that way. I think you're very sensitive to the emotions of other people. And you're kind of learning how to protect yourself like a doctor would. You don't want to take on the residue of everybody's emotions, because then you're not going to be able to function properly. You're not going to be able to do your job, right? And that's kind of what we see with the Seven of Cups here. This is someone who's taken on a lot of emotional residue. He kind of needs to clean it off. You need to take that energetic shower and wash all that residue off, okay? Now, the Five of Pentacles is your obstacle, your fear, worry, concern. And it is, of course, a card of things not being in harmony. It's a card really of rolling the dice, though. Okay? I think you roll the dice, you expect things to work. You want to get the harmony, right? You want to have your efforts fit in perfectly with the situation at hand, right? That would give us a Six of Pentacles. But the Five is when you're actually doing the work. But what you're getting is a Seven instead. And the Seven is kind of like, that didn't work. The Seven is saying, we roll the dice, but they didn't come out I don't know what numbers you want to see in craps. I don't gamble. The 5, right, is the 5-fingered hand. This is somebody rolling the dice. You're doing the work. You're putting in what you think is the best process you can think of. You're shaking the dice in a certain way, you're blowing on it, you're kissing it for good luck, and then you're throwing it down the table. Okay? The way they land is sort of not really up to you. It's kind of about all these unknown factors, and it's about how much you understood the situation and understood how to apply your efforts. Okay? And so this is you putting in the effort, trying to do something, and it's been blocked. Something has been, the dice haven't been landing the way you've been wanting them to. Okay. I think the fear here is that it's not ever going to, that it's not going to click into place. I think the fear is that you're going to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, right? This is us rolling the dice the same way. And, well, especially with our fixed air energy, you keep rolling the dice the same way, and we're going to keep getting the same result. So what this card is really saying is that we need to change our technique a little bit. You can't go off exactly what the textbook says, because real life is not going to be exactly that textbook thing, you know? Again, the textbook gives you the most generic circumstance and the most generic response to that scenario. Okay, at least it did in EMT school. In the real world, there is no scenario that is going to be exactly like that textbook. Therefore, the response of the textbook is never going to fit perfectly into the real life scenario. So you have to be willing to change what you're doing a little bit by being flexible, by being creative, by expanding your mind and thinking outside the box a little bit. Improvising, I guess, yeah. And continuing to roll the dice down the table. And, this, I think, as your fear, worry, and concern is that it's not going to click. Okay, but it will. I think the one thing that we have to do also is to cleanse this emotional residue. I think it's very important that you don't get, even with the Eight of Cups and the Prince and all the water energy we have in the reading, is suggesting to me that you are taking on too much of the emotional burdens of others, or of this scenario or this situation, or of your clients, or of the real world, whatever the scenario is, that you're allowing it to affect you too much. And it's clouding our judgment a little bit. It's preventing us from really seeing things clearly, or transmitting that light, okay? And so we have a 7 of Cups and the 7 of Wands. Like I said, it feels like there's a blockage that's preventing you from cleanly and as a clear channel transmitting that light or that wisdom, right? I think part of the blockage is in the external world. You're feeling like the blockage is out there somewhere. I think some of the blockage is the emotional residue that you've been collecting. And now I don't think that you're doing it on purpose or anything, right? But I think that you take on a lot of the emotional weight of other people. And with the 7 of Cups, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of this self-doubt. Yeah, and well, the eight of Cups as well is kind of this feeling that we're being worn down by the process a little bit. Okay, and so it kind of is like it's a vessel that needs a little bit of restoration. Maybe because you've been taking some emotional hits through the work you're doing, whatever that work is. Maybe you're in school, maybe you're retired. It doesn't matter. Through whatever you're doing in life, it feels like you've been taking some emotional hits. And so this is kind of like that feeling that you are taking on too much of that emotional residue, and it's starting to affect you. Okay. Now I don't know if there's some literal, some kind of literal meaning to that, but it feels like this is a cleansing that needs to take place, and this is an energetic boundary that needs to be established. And it could very much be that, you you're trying to be fortified. You're trying to have boundaries. You're trying to be a little bit disconnected or indifferent in that way in order to protect yourself and to protect your energy. But some of it still gets through because you're not a cold-hearted person. You care. You have tremendous empathy. And so you're going to take on this energetic, emotional residue, whether you like it or not. Even if you try to just be apathetic and cold-hearted, cold-blooded, you can't, right? You can't. You try, but you can't. So you're going to take on some of this energy. And sometimes you have to recognize that and do some things that can clear your energy. Ground yourself, take a break, take a hot bath, do your meditations, your prayers, your rituals. Drink a lot of water. Just the things that you can do. Focus on animals. If you have a pet, right, spend quality time with your pets, your plants, your people, in order to clear some of that energy away. Also, with the lack of air energy we see in the reading, we have a little bit of air, but we don't see any real swords cards, right? Because maybe to purge some of that emotional residue, you need to let it, you need to express it in some way. Okay? Maybe you're not somebody that likes to talk about the things that are bothering you. Maybe you should write them down. Maybe you should paint them. Maybe you can sing them or dance it. You know what I mean? Find other ways to get that emotional energy out. Okay, because whatever life you're living right now, you're accumulating some of that stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the mystery card. I think maybe this should be either some air energy or it's going to be a very clean aura. So maybe a 6 of Cups. I can see that taking place. It may be a refreshing Ace of Cups. A 4 maybe, too. I can see that. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments down below. Let's see what we have. Oh, the balance. Yeah, justice, the Libra energy. I think this is fine. This is good. Because this is a readjustment. Okay? To me, this is that centeredness. This is that balance. Okay, maybe it's a kind of work-life balance. It's personal, professional balance. Maybe it's the right balance, restoring the balance. Maybe you've gotten too heavy with the water energy. We've gotten too weighed down by the emotional, weight of what we're doing. And we're just trying to lighten things up, restore things a little bit. Bring back that inner balance, that equilibrium, the equanimity. Yeah, that allows you to do what you do in a very professional way. I feel like this is your vocation. Okay, I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be like medical stuff. You could be an energy healer. You could be a light worker. It could just be you could be working with animals. You could be working with people. I'm sure in some way you work with people. Okay, in some way this is about your interactions with other people, and and perhaps realizing that we tend to take on too much of that emotional weight through our interpersonal reactions, interpersonal interactions, and maybe recognizing how we take things very personally, even when it's not really meant to be personal. Okay, restoring a little bit of this balance, I think, is going to really help you to feel like things click into place. It's going to restore a harmony, the equanimity, that inner balance. Anyway, we're going to do an extended reading too. If you want to stick around, we'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There is a link in the corner. There's a link down below. New readings for Capricorn Tuesdays and Fridays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we are all in this together.